welcome to ICF Tennessee's live DEIB Committee introduction session. We're glad you're here. It looks like we have some folks joining us live from across our social media platforms, and I know we have board members and chapter members who will join us on the replay too. So welcome. Feel free to share in the comments who you are and where you're joining us from. We have fellow board member Dr. Akina Finch, who's our technology director, helping us host the session and can help you see any questions or introductions you put in the comments. So thank you, Akina, for helping us. On behalf of the ICF Tennessee board, welcome and thank you for joining. This will be the first of hopefully many live sessions we'll be hosting where you can gather information and engage. I'm Jennifer Gamble, an executive coach and leadership consultant, and this year I'm serving on ICF Tennessee's board of directors as the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, or DEIB director. This position is in its inaugural year. The purpose of this session is to introduce the new DEIB Committee, to share the vision and mission for starting a DEIB initiative within ICF Tennessee, and to share some upcoming events. We'd love for this session to be interactive, so feel free to pop any questions or comments in the chat section. We'll have time to answer questions throughout the session. Before we begin, however, I do want to take a moment and acknowledge that this week has been particularly hard with the release of the video footage from Memphis and the death of Tyree Nichols. We're deeply saddened by the recent acts of violence, including Tyree's death. It comes on the heels of recent shootings in California impacting our Asian communities and even the workplace. These events serve as a reminder of the systemic issues that continue to impact communities across the country and the world, and serve as an ongoing call for leaders to take action. We are coaches and leaders, but we're also humans. These are unimaginable, inhumane acts. They impact our coaches, our clients, and our communities. These recent events underscore the need for continual efforts in these areas, and we will continue to work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable world. Our thoughts are with those affected by the events, and we stand in solidarity while also committing to take action to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, starting with our own chapter, coaches, and communities. The actions we'll be taking start with the leadership of our DEIB committee. I'm excited to introduce them to you. They're quite accomplished, bring a wealth of experience, and honestly, it's been a joy to kick off the DEIB initiatives with them. First, I'd like to introduce our two committee members and allow them to share their DEI origin stories. First, Anna Hernandez is a certified professional coactive coach and PCC professional certified coach from ICF. She owns her own coaching and consulting business. Anna, would you share a bit of your DEIB origin story?
Yeah, thanks so much, Jennifer. I'm so happy to be a part of this committee and to be a part of this initiative. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm looking forward to contributing and generating curiosity and awareness about DEIB. So in my corporate life, most recently at Comcast, I was an ally and advocate for our employee resource groups, or ERGs, and I was on the committee for the Asian Pacific American ERG, and I also joined all the other 8 ERGs because I wanted to experience that. I also included ERG awareness for our enterprise onboarding curriculum, and I also led DEIB huddles. So I'm very, very passionate about it, and that really comes from me experiencing the lack of it in my life. And so as I was thinking about what I wanted to share today, I had an aha moment from a coaching perspective, which is, how can I own and change my narrative? And what's the gift from my pain? What's the gift from my origin story? And I realized that my origin story has a subconscious and conscious parts to it. So it's been subconscious in my career because I never expected to see anyone like me in the corporate space that I was in. To date, I've only encountered 11 other Asians in my 32 years of advertising media sales. I never had a different expectation because what I could expect was that I was going to be the token Asian person. In my personal life, it's much more pronounced consciously. And it's an old wound for me that never heals, and one that I've become used to. So my origin story began in 1977 when my parents and my two siblings and I moved from Sydney, Australia to a suburb of Chicago. I was 10, and there are three life-changing moments as part of my origin story. Being one of two Filipino families in our suburb, our school, and our church made us stand out. Obviously, we looked different. We had different customs, traditions, food, and language. But you know what? I don't remember feeling different in Sydney. I also don't remember being nervous about being the new girl at school in fifth grade. But what I do remember is the first time I was called a chink. I knew a line had been drawn, and that was the beginning of being other for me. That's the first moment. The second moment is being a witness to what we call now microaggressions. And the pain that's been very hard for me to process is having seen and heard microaggressions towards my parents on the adult level. As a child, I don't think I needed to see or hear adult men make fun of my father's height. My dad handled it very diplomatically. I heard him say, "I'm a dime among nickels." That's the second moment. And the third moment is what I call the double bind. I chose to spend a year in Manila after college because I basically just wanted to know what it felt like to be around my people, to not be other. I wanted a chance to work there and to spend more time with family. Well, guess what? I didn't belong there either. My coworkers were quick to point out my Western attitudes, my Western mannerisms, and my accent when I spoke our language. So, to me, the gift of my origin story is compassion. It's really helped me tune into when other people feel different, excluded, or an outsider. And so I do own my story, and I'm changing the narrative. And what I want to do with it is I want to be able to shape the space where being different is okay. In fact, different is good. And I want to be able to empower other people who might not understand what feeling other feels like, but to actively contribute in creating a safer space. And ultimately, this is about healing for me. And if I can help other people heal, then I am living my purpose and my passion. And that's my origin story. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Anna, for sharing. I hope folks can hear how much passion and desire Anna has for helping create meaningful spaces for connection and belonging. I've gotten a chance to know Anna over the last few months, and Joyce as well. And I have to be honest, both of them are just incredible folks. And it's an honor to have them in our committee and to be leading these initiatives for ICF Tennessee. Now I want to introduce Joyce, who's the third of our trio. Joyce is owner of Joyce Kels Consulting. She's an international speaker and two-time best-selling author. And besides serving on the DEIB committee, she's the secretary for the ICF Tennessee Board of Directors. So Joyce, will you share a little bit about your DEIB origin story?
Yes, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share today and to just be a part of ICFTN, and more specifically, part of the DEIB community in our newly formed initiatives. I am really excited about them professionally and personally. And so before I share my origin story, I just also want to say how much I appreciate the way that ICF10 has embraced me and talked about specifically what is happening in Memphis and the death of Mr. Nichols. And my heart, my prayers, my thoughts go out to all of us who are connected to Memphis. It's very hurtful. And just to have such a community as this to embrace me as an individual and those of us who are in the coaching space that are connected to ICF Tennessee, it means a lot professionally and personally. So I just wanted to say that before I shared my own story. So the interesting thing about sharing our origin stories is that I had not heard Anna's until today, along with all of you, and to know that she experienced some of the things that she did in Chicago is really interesting because I am from Chicago, and it was actually the opposite for me moving down south. So for me, as a child growing up in Chicago, I only saw, interacted with, engaged with people who looked like me. So I didn't have the interactions that others had in that space with other ethnicities, races, what have you, because it just wasn't present where I grew up. I think we had one Caucasian teacher, and she was my kindergarten teacher, and the gym teacher. So we had a white male and a white female. Everyone else was Black. It wasn't until I moved down south that I had the first interaction and experiences with other races and ethnicities outside of my own. And, to be perfectly honest, I was quite uncomfortable because I didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what to expect of me. I certainly didn't know what to expect of them. And so at first, I was very apprehensive about connecting with people, even though I saw some of my classmates who looked like me. You were still connected and interacting with other people that didn't. So, and then if you're from up north, as many of you may attest to, tends to be a little cold, and not just because of the weather. We're not the friendliest. We don't say, hey, how you doing? And all these types of things. So just getting used to the culture of everything was very different. So just having the experiences that I had growing up, and then becoming more comfortable in the space of diversity, but now becoming a young adult and dealing with so many different isms. And now being a woman now who has crossed over into another, milestone, 50 plus at this point. So even in that space, sometimes there's this confusion that because you're in a diverse group of people, that somehow equity, equality, and inclusion is still a thing. And it's not. You can still be in a diverse space and still not feel included. You still don't feel that you belong. And I certainly have experienced that professionally, a little more than personal, but definitely in my professional spaces, always having times when I felt like I still have to prove myself based on the color of my skin, or, who I know, who I'm connected to, how long I have been doing a thing, and those things being barriers at times. So, having to work through that and own my story, not allowing myself to be labeled as a particular person, place, or thing, but just being known as Joyce, and all of the accolades that go along with Joyce, that I've worked hard for them. And it is very important to me in this space, being a part of ICF Tennessee, to ensure and encourage anyone who's thinking about being a part of any entity, that they understand the importance of what it means to belong, the importance of what it means to have some skin in the game, if you will. And in that diversity is more than just race and ethnicity. It encompasses a whole being, because we are all human beings. And so for me, my origin story has been one that has been eclectic and exciting and scary at times, but embracing what it means to belong. And I think that's, for me, the most important part of DEI is the B. It's the belonging. And I know and feel that I belong in this space. I know and feel that I belong in society and what that looks like. And so for me, I want to help as many other individuals to understand how important belonging is in the DEI space, in the ways that I can show up and present that to businesses, organizations, individuals, and just make us all understand the importance of diversity, equity, equality, inclusion, and how all that ties in what it means to belong. And so with that, that is my origin story. I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer.
Thanks, Joyce. As you probably heard from both Anna and Joyce, they come from varied backgrounds, and yet here they are with passions to create spaces for folks to be, to belong, to be heard and valued. And, for each of us, it comes from a place and experience where perhaps we have wounds or places where, we weren't included or didn't feel like we belonged at some point. And so I hope that you will hear and see that though we come from different places and lived experiences, we enjoy connecting, and in fact, our meetings tend to run long because we really enjoy connecting. And hopefully you'll see that you have a place to be part of this community, not only ICF Tennessee, but if you'd like to be a part of our committee and our community bringing forth initiatives, I hope you'll find space for that. Again, as I mentioned, I'm Jennifer, and I'm an executive coach and consultant. My training blends neuroscience, presence, wellness, and identity development. And my own DEIB story is rooted in childhood and begins really with understanding difference and inclusion. I grew up in Knoxville in Tennessee and was here until I was 13. And growing up, one of my mom's best friends was deaf. And I learned the importance of being present and focused so that I could read her lips, to communicate, because I didn't know sign language when I was young. My mom really valued inclusion and really wanted to make sure that children didn't feel excluded, so much so that, in elementary school, my mom was really great at throwing home birthday parties, the ones from the 80s and 90s with cake and punch and games. And we were invited to invite our whole class. I remember after one birthday party that my mom shared with me that there were a couple of kids that this was the only birthday party that they had been invited to. And I remember one of the boys that came to the birthday party, he actually picked out a cat at a store. His mom had this whole story that she had shared with my mom about how he was so excited to come to a birthday party because he hadn't been invited to any other birthday parties. And so being included was really important. My mom was also my Girl Scout troop leader. And in middle school, we had several girls that were added to our very small troop. These were girls that didn't necessarily go to our school, and they had a wide variety of physical and cognitive disabilities. So much so that one of the girls had a caretaker. She was in a adult-sized stroller and was nonverbal. She didn't communicate. But when we went roller skating, her caretaker took her out with us and we roller skated with her, even though she couldn't do it herself. And it was a really important lesson on how you can include and help people belong with all different kinds of abilities. Probably the other most important DEI origin story for me was between the summer of my junior and senior year of high school. I was living in Connecticut. We had moved there. And I wrote a photo essay about high school, American high school, and was selected as an American Youth Ambassador to spend a summer in Japan. And the idea was that by sending students to Japan and Japan sending students to the US, that there would be this bridge building between the two cultures. And so I spent the summer when I was 17 with a family in Osaka, Japan, the Tange family. And one of the first dinners that I had at their house, they were asking, why am I here and what I'm doing? They had hosted many exchange students from around the world doing all sorts of work, and families too. And so here I had my booklet out and showing pictures, and I was my high school mascot. And out in one of the pictures is me as the mascot, and the name of our school was spelled out. And our school was named for an Italian community in the town I was living in. And it was named for Enrico Fermi. And so the question was, who is Enrico Fermi? And in my mind, I knew who Enrico Fermi was. But in that moment was also the knowledge that I had just arrived in Japan. It was the 50th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima. I was from East Tennessee. My grandparents had worked at Oak Ridge during World War II, developing atomic energy and helping the cause. And then I had a grandfather who did surveillance photography off the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, doing surveillance photography for the of Japanese there. And so in my mind, I knew the answer was, well, Enrico Fermi helped discover how to split atoms that led to the atom bomb. But in that moment, I realized there were multiple truths and realities coming into play. Yes, I understood why Hiroshima had happened, But here I was living on the other side of that experience. And that summer, I saw magazines honoring the event and commemorating the people who had lost their lives. Terrible photos I'd never seen before, but so important because it helped me start to see multiple perspectives, multiple realities, the idea of yes and it really led the foundation of why, for me, curiosity and understanding is how I lead in life and how I lead in coaching. And it really overlaps why DEIB is really important to me. I felt like I belonged in Japan, even though there was these differences. The Tange family, Noriko, my host mom, actually came to my wedding a few years ago. She flew to the States and met my parents for the first time. Really a great full circle moment. But it was the opportunity for me to see that there are multiple truths, that there are multiple perspectives, and to experience what it was like to be in another reality, in another truth. And so for me, the origins of DEIB is of inclusion, it is of belonging, but it's also an understanding difference and leading with curiosity. And so, you've heard a little bit about what makes us passionate about leading DEIB efforts. I want to share a little bit about how did we as ICF Tennessee decide that this was an important initiative and why now? So the position that I'm leading, the DEIB director position, it is a new one, and it's responsible for leading ICF Tennessee efforts to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging within the chapter. And, you'll start to see that it really is about weaving that throughout the chapter. This position works closely with this committee and the board to develop and implement strategies that align with the chapter and ICF Global's DEIB mission, vision, and values. And really, the goal is to create a community, a place where our coaches feel like they can belong, that they can show up with their unique talents and strengths. They can showcase them. People can also show up anywhere along the continuum of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Maybe this is something that you're passionate about and you have a lot of experience. We would love to see you be involved. Maybe this is a new topic in a new area and you're just learning. We would love to see you involved as well. This is a place where anyone can belong and anyone can contribute. In short, this position serves the board, weaves in DEIB in everything we do. We as a board believe that DEIB initiatives are everyone's responsibility. So you'll see it everywhere in our leadership, our chapter, and our events. For example, you'll see the diversity of our board representation, from experience to types of coaches to locations and backgrounds. You'll see inclusion in our marketing with a desire to reach all of our members, regardless of your experience or focus area. You'll see belonging as a focus in our membership initiatives, creating a community of coaches that connect with one another. You'll see it in the diversity of our professional development offerings and so on. As a chapter, we believe everyone should feel included and have a sense of belonging. And again, it's not new. In fact, DEIB has been part of ICF Tennessee for many years, and we're finally creating the formal structures for DEIB to live in our chapter. So in 2021, Karen Nash was our president, and she really started to focus on inclusion. This was right after COVID and we went virtual. And so there was a need to see, okay, we can reach across the state. So inclusion, how can we make sure that our coaches in Memphis, our coaches in Chattanooga, rural areas, Nashville, everyone feels included. So there was a real drive to focus on including our members. That was part of the decision to make sure that we have a consistent online presence and that virtual events are a reality so that you can belong, whether you can drive to a formal event or you can just log on. In 2022, Brenda became our president, and her focus was then about belonging. So now we have inclusion and we have belonging. Really wanted to make sure that our members felt like they belonged. So she did a road trip and met folks from 4 of our major areas and talked to folks to say, what is it you want? What's important? This was part of her listening tour. We also did a cultural identity and belonging survey to learn more about our members. We wanted to make sure, what are all the unique areas and strengths and backgrounds our members have, and how do they want to be showcased? If this is a survey you haven't participated in, let me know. We would love for you to complete that survey so that we can also make sure that you're included and that you're showcased in the ways in which you want to be. Last year, ICF Global started the building blocks of their DEI initiative. And so now ICF Global and ICF Tennessee are aligning. So we had already started some work, and really it was great because we were ahead of the curve. But DEI is really important for global. And so ICF Global is creating a dashboard, and they have a committee now and all sorts of resources that are going to trickle down to the chapters. And so what's great is Anna and Joyce have agreed to become trained, and they're going to help lead some of the initiatives that are coming from ICF Global. And then this year in 2023, we're launching the official DEIB board member position, something that we will include in our bylaws when we do a bylaws review this year, and the establishment of this committee. And that will allow us to expand some different initiatives. You know, some of the goals that we have this year is one, to just establish this board member position, the committee, and define what are our mission, visions, and values. So if you want to be a part of that, you'll hear a call to action towards the end of this session where you can be a part of that. Another important piece of this year is that alignment, data collection, providing training and resources, but really aligning with ICF Global. In a minute, you'll hear about some of our education and awareness initiatives, things that we're able to build upon from what was started last year. And then, of course, increasing belonging, and you'll hear a little more about that as well. You know, DEIB is important in the coaching profession and is connected to our ICF Global competencies. You know, curiosity is one of the founding pieces of DEIB. We have to cultivate curiosity as a coach. We help our clients cultivate curiosity, whether it's approaching conversations or asking questions. Curiosity is a foundation of DEIB. And so is respect. Hearing stories like we heard from Anna, myself, and Joyce today. Hearing our clients' stories are important, understanding their knowledge, and realizing that we all have lived experiences and truths. So respect is an important piece of DEIB. And then the third piece that's really important is humility. We know that we're always learning and growing, just like our clients, and we're looking to have a growth mindset. So again, no matter where you are on the DEIB continuum, we know that there's places for you. There's an opportunity to participate in a book club, or there's an opportunity for you to contribute your knowledge and help create spaces for people to be heard, seen, and valued. So you can see that we've got some DEIB initiatives this year, and I'm going to ask Joyce to share some upcoming events that you might want to know about.
Yes, thank you so much. I am excited to be able to share these with you all. So just a few of the cultural heritage celebrations that we will be partaking in hosting throughout the year. You know, last year we had Black History Month live sessions. We also had one for Women's History Month. We had Pride Month. We had so many more, and we're looking to increase that number. So we are just excited and want you to continue to follow us, to come and become connected with us, participate in these events, share them with others. And of course, if you're following us, you'll be able to keep up with when the next LinkedIn Live is going to be, or the next in-person will be for these different events. And we just really want and need your participation. DEIB does not work without the inclusion of all of you. So just plan on being here, showing up, sharing with others. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is the quarterly spaces to be. That is something that the three of us were sitting and chatting and talking about. You know, how can we show up? How can we provide these safe spaces and these opportunities for conversation to take place in a place that feels comfortable, feels safe, feels welcoming, feels inviting, feels diverse, but definitely makes you feel as if you belong. So again, I'm just going to tell you all to be on the lookout for it all. This is part of our ICF Global Cultural Competencies. We also have a session for that as well. So just please be on the lookout again for those. DEIB is something that, again, as Jennifer has already said, it's something that ICF Tennessee has been doing already. So we're already ahead of the curve, but that ICF Global Cultural Competency session, looking forward to being one of the leaders for that along with Anna. So again, if you're following us, you'll know already, but if you're not following us, then this is the perfect time to make sure that you are. Spread the word, share it with your friends, with your colleagues, your associates, tell a friend to tell two more friends. And together we can grow, we can learn, we can strive even further to reach those heights of diversity, of equity, of inclusion, and belonging that we are striving to show up even more, not just in Tennessee, but globally. So again, I just can't stress the point enough. Share, 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 follow us so that you can keep up. Don't be one of those people who, oh, I wish that I had known. If you're following us, you will already be in the know. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Anna, who is going to talk to you about volunteering. And I know she is as passionate about that aspect of it as I am about encouraging you to show up for these events. So Anna, take it away.
Thanks so much, Joyce. I'm sure everyone can see how excited and passionate the three of us are. And we are just so passionate about also growing our committee, because diversity, equality, inclusion, and belonging is also about diversity of thought. And I think that's also something important to highlight. So if you heard something today that's resonating with you, or you're just curious, please come and join us or find out a little bit more. I will give you the email address in just a few more minutes. Well, maybe not a few more minutes, hopefully sooner rather than that. I just also want to highlight, just in the several committee meetings that I've had with Jennifer and Joyce, I have not felt this kind of belonging and connection in a very, very long time. I will assume that most of us are working independently as coaches, and sometimes we might not have that opportunity to always share ideas or just have some support. It has been fabulous, and I would like to invite you all to come and enlarge the space with us, because this is what it's about. It's about growing our community so that we are more representative of what you're all wanting from DEIB. And it's also a terrific opportunity to grow in leadership, share some ideas. DEIB is so important to so many of us, as you can hear, and we'd love to hear from you. So bring your curiosity, bring your open-mindedness and willing to share ideas. It is a safe space. And if you're interested, please email DEIB@ICFTN.org. And we'd love to hear from you. And, please show up, y'all. And I'll hand it over to Jennifer for some Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. So obviously, we really enjoy meeting and connecting with each other, and we're really excited about the initiatives that are going to happen this year. But the reality is, it's coming from the committee and what you all want to see and do. And so we've created, the spaces to be, quarterly event. We're looking for some LinkedIn Live opportunities. But the reality is, there may be other really great ideas that you have and you'd like to contribute. So, Akina, I don't think I see any questions, but feel free to let me know if there are any. If folks want to ask questions, this is a great time. If not, I just want to reiterate, number one, we're going to have events both virtually and then a few times in person. And, there's some things in the work around conference maybe, or some other things. And so we're hoping that those will be places where we could see folks. Also, we're hoping to be on the road again this year to different locations. And so those might be another place for you to connect. But if you're looking for a space within ICF Tennessee, this might be it for you, or at least a chance to connect and see where else you might fit in or belong and contribute your talents and skills. We are an open space. We're here to learn. I recognize, even though I've been doing intercultural work for a very long time, I learn something every time we sit down and talk. I learn about somebody's lived experience. I learn something about a new skill. And that's what I'm excited about this committee and this initiative. It is about learning and growing as a leader, as a coach, and as a person. And I really have enjoyed connecting with Joyce and Anna, and we have a great time. So if you want to join us, let us know. We're happy to have you. Akina, any questions that I've missed? I think I'm seeing the comments. I see some hearts and some other things, but no questions. So again, I just want to thank both Joyce and Anna for their time and sharing what ICF Tennessee is all about as far as our DEIB initiative. Thank Dr. Keena Finch for hosting us on live. This was our inaugural online event, so might have been a little nervous, but hopefully you got some good information and we had some fun. And again, just email deib@icftennessee.org if you'd like to get involved, if you have some questions, or if you heard about an event that you'd like to attend. We'll make sure that you get connected with the right resources. So thank you again for joining us on our first LinkedIn Live. We look forward to you contributing and being involved, and we will check comments on the replay. So if you are listening on this replay, feel free to add any comments and we'll be sure to get back with you. Thanks so much. Oh, thanks, Anna.